This is ContraZoom, where we go back and forth about film. I'm your host, Dakota Arsenault. The 98th Academy Awards were just handed out, and we are here today to talk about the big winners, the big losers, and the most exciting moments of the night, hosted by Conan O'Brien. Joining me today is Alex Southey, who was last heard on episode 318, A24 Retrospective Room. Welcome back to the show, Alex. How are you doing?
I'm good. Happy after a genuinely positive, good Oscars.
Amazing.
Yeah.
I guess my first question, I want to know is, how did you watch the Oscars? Did you do anything big? Did you watch it with people, by yourself? Did you make any fancy drinks? What was your night?
Oh man, you're setting the. See, I should have heard these questions before yesterday, and then I would have done something. But I was just alone. Watching it myself on my desk, couldn't even figure out how to get it to properly whatever it's called stream on my TV, so it was just me sitting in like this student desk in my house just watching the Oscars. It was not the coolest look, you know.
Were you watching them on Crave?
I also wasn't watching them on Crave, but we don't need to talk
Okay.
about how I was able
Fair.
to watch them.
That's fine. I will say, as someone who normally in the past would have to find other means to watch it, it was nice to be able to watch it on Crave, even though at the beginning it cut out on me a couple times.
I believe you. Yeah, it's frustrating when you have to keep going back to these. I will say, whatever. I don't need to mention the website, but it was an alternative stream, let's say. And the only thing really annoying about those websites, other than the fact that the feed can drop, is you've got constant comments streaming down on the right side, and I couldn't figure out how to turn off the chat box. So occasionally it made for some pretty funny commentary, but other than that, it was just annoying.
That's fair. A little bit of housekeeping before we get into this. The results from the Oscar draft from back on episode 326. I would like to formally announce that I won. Now, I tied for the win, but I won. Todd Pengelly and I both got 7 points, which is awesome. This is the first time I've ever won. And then Darren Zakis got 6 points. And then Thomas Stone Judge came in dead last with 3 measly points. So big win for me. Also big win, especially because they made me bet at the end of the episode that if I came in last place next year, I would not be on the Oscar draft, on my own damn podcast. So screw you guys.
That's hilarious. That is hilarious. Yeah.
I got my points mostly from One Battle After Another, where I got 6 of my points, and then 1 point from Avatar: Fire and Ash. Todd had a much more rounded team, getting 4 points from Sinners, 1 from F1, 1 from All the Empty Rooms, and 1 from The Girl Who Cried Pearls. So good on him. Darren got 3 points from Frankenstein, 2 points from K-Pop Demon Hunters, and 1 from Weapons. And then Thomas's points came from 1 from Sentimental Value, 1 from The Singers, and 1 from Hamnet. So yeah, that's how the Oscar draft went. Always a fun time. You can go back and watch that, us mostly clowning on Thomas. But yeah, good times. And then also I held a little internal prediction contest with my fellow members of the Cascadia Critics Association, and Elizabeth Malloy from the Celluloid Closet absolutely cleaned up with 21 correct responses out of 24 categories. And Eric Zhu from over on The Insert got 20 right. So congratulations both to Elizabeth and to Eric for doing so damn well on their predictions. All right, Alex, let us get back into this. We're going to talk about the Oscars. I feel like there's so much. I was keeping a track on my notes app on my phone.
Yeah.
And I took so many notes, and I still feel like I didn't take enough notes.
Really?
There's a lot of things that happened. It was a crazy show.
I mean, I guess that's true in terms of, I guess my ceiling for crazy, I'm doing air quotes, is like the Oscars mix up with Moonlight and La La Land, or like the slap. There was no slap, there was no news that will precede this podcast informing people other than maybe the general winners. You know what I mean? Whereas the slap instantly was like, was not
this is now the story.
Exactly. Yeah. But yeah, that's true. There were a lot of things. I mean, I guess off the top, one of my favorite things was off the top, which is it felt good to be in the hands of Conan.
Yeah.
That's what
This is the second year of him hosting now, and I I mostly enjoyed the years Jimmy Kimmel hosted. He usually would have like one or two bits that like would kind of sour me for the whole night.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm not having that issue with Conan.
You know, it's funny. I feel like my one issue with Conan is sometimes he's not biting enough.
Mm,
And that is the one real strength of Kimmel for me. Uh, is that he'll go after people a little harsher. I mean, Conan had a few really good digs that I didn't really expect him to say, like the whole, I don't know if you have to bleep this out, but like the pedophile joke about like at least we arrest our pedophiles, about the no English actors were up for
yeah.
best actor or whatever, but hey, at least they do that. Which is like a really good quip, but that would have been like the majority of Kimmel's monologue probably, whereas Conan, this was just sort of a throw off, a throwaway. Similarly, he's a little less online than maybe like Nikki Glazer when you see her host another award show. So, for
Hmm.
example, Conan made maybe one joke about Timothy Chalamet and the whole opera ballet thing. I feel like Glazer would have like really dug in on it. Um, so I'm really just talking about the opening monologue at this point. Basically, I feel like Conan's always going to be like a 7 or 8 safe out of 10,
Yeah.
uh, which is fine, and I get that why we go with him. And I thought it was particularly like poignant in a way because he's sort of unfortunately related to the Rob Reiner story, and then he was the host, and then Billy Crystal came out, and blah blah blah. So that's another thing we can get into, I guess. But but that's very interesting to me that as you were watching, you were like, wow, this is a real busy, like lots of things to talk about Oscars, because I kind of felt like it proceeded the way I thought it would.
Mm.
So yeah, I'm curious what comes off the top of the head for you.
I guess, putting it in context like that, I think definitely helps. Like, in terms of general news stories, yes, it wasn't that crazy of a night. There was no giant mix-up. There was no someone coming up from the audience to assault the host, things like that. But, like, from a movie fan perspective, like, this was everything that I wanted to without it being distracting.
Yeah, okay, that's a good way, that's a really good way of putting it. I think it was entertaining without things. Yes, okay, yeah, you're right. You're right.
Yeah, in that regard.
Yeah.
So obviously let's get things off the top. The big winners of the night, one battle after another, 6 awards, Sinners with 4, Frankenstein with 3, and then K-pop Demon Hunters with 2, and then everyone else got 1 award. But it was always going to be the one battle versus Sinners night. Going into the ceremony, were you leaning that Sinners was going to be the movie that came out on top, or One Battle?
No, I thought One Battle would come out on top, and that doesn't mean that I thought I was a better movie. In fact, the further I get from both, I think maybe just in terms of what they were trying to achieve, Sinners maybe is more successful in a way. But no, I kind of thought it would be One Battle, just because that's been the trajectory for the other award shows for the most part, and it seemed like there was this feeling, and maybe I'm just projecting because I'm a fan of his, but this feeling of like, okay, it's been long enough. Paul Thomas Anderson hasn't won an Oscar. That seems pretty crazy. Or one of the main, director Oscars. And so I thought it was also, they had the added benefit of kind of what DiCaprio did for The Revenant, where it was like, okay, maybe he should have won for The Aviator 10 years earlier, but we're going to give it to him now because this is also pretty good.
Mm-hmm.
That's kind of how I felt about it. So I figured One Battle would do most of the winning. And instead there were a lot of like happy, I don't even know if I would call it upsets, just like pleasant surprises, perhaps.
Yeah, there's a couple there.
Yeah.
I was on Team One Battle. That was my preferred movie of the two. I did like Sinners a lot, but I do prefer One Battle. And I agree with you. It wasn't quite the like Martin Scorsese, guys, he is so overdue. We just need to give him an Oscar, please, while he's still alive.
Right.
It very much sort of felt like the Christopher Nolan
Yes.
when he won for Oppenheimer, whereas like, okay, this is a guy who's been putting out, banger after banger, critically acclaimed movies. His films are always nominated for Oscars,
Yeah.
but he's always the bridesmaid, never
Yeah.
the bride. And, you know, just like Oppenheimer, where sort of everything worked that year, that was the movie. Everyone was able to kind of coalesce and be like, yeah, this is it. It felt very similarly for One Battle After Another, where it was like, it felt easy to be like, okay, this is Paul Thomas Anderson's year. And this isn't going to be like, I'm someone who adores The Departed. I adore it. And I'm so happy Scorsese won director for that because it's great. But like, I'm not insane and think that should have been his first Best Director Oscar.
Right,
like,
right.
He should have won years before for Raging Bull or Taxi Driver or Goodfellas or, you know.
There are so many examples. Yeah, exactly.
And you can kind of make sort of similar arguments for both Paul Thomas Anderson and Christopher Nolan, where you're like, well, you know, maybe a few years earlier, if things were a little bit different, you know, obviously with Anderson, the big one is There Will Be Blood. But, you know, No Country for Old Men is just as deserving.
Literally, my dad texted me during the Oscars, and he was like, how has Paul Thomas Anderson not won? There Will Be Blood didn't win. And I was like, you have to remember what the year was. And I copied and pasted, like, what it was up against. It was No Country, Juno, I
think it was Michael Clayton,
Atonement, and one more. And he was like, oh, okay, that's a
never
pretty
mind.
tough year. And he loves No Country. That's like the only movie that I could have said that would have beaten it for him. Which is probably how a lot of people feel. And they were like, if it wasn't that movie that year up against it, There Will Be Blood would have crushed probably.
100%. Yeah. So like it felt like this was the right time where he was overdue, but not in the Scorsese overdue category.
Yeah, I agree with you. So I think people, even detractors, were probably like, yeah, all right, I get it. You know?
Yeah. Because, you know, it's one of those discussions where, like, you know, this doesn't validate Paul Thomas Anderson's career. You know,
right?
The fact that he's got, you know, almost 30 years worth of fantastic movies, that validates his career. This is sort of that cherry on top that allows us to sort of go like, you know what? The Oscars do get it right once in a while because, like, how ridiculous is it for me to say the statement, Alfred Hitchcock never won a Best Director Oscar?
Oh, wow. Yeah, there you go. That's a perfect example of how wrong the award shows. And also, like, there's so many things we can get into. Like, the fact that it's just become clearer and clearer that a lot of the judges don't actually watch all of the movies. Like, as soon as you learn that, you go, okay, well, then it truly is just sort of a who does the best PR campaign mixed with how popular is a movie, etc.
So this year things were different, where you were required to watch all of the movies, or at least claim you watched them all. And that's the thing, is like a lot of people want to get upset about that, but then you have to remember, like, I work in film. I barely have time to watch movies when I'm working, and I make that my hobby. Now, say you've got family, you've got other commitments going on. Maybe you're someone like Steven Spielberg, where you're not working on one project at a time. You're working on 5 projects at a time. When does Spielberg have time to watch all 50 nominated films? I did. It took me until the day before the ceremony to watch the 50th film. That's how long it took me.
Fair.
So, like,
very fair. I think I just also think if you were an Academy Award judge, I bet you'd take it even more. Maybe that's you as a person, but I bet you take it even more seriously than you are right now working in the industry.
There are people like Kirsten Dunst who has gone on record for years saying she watches every single nominated film.
She's an OG. She just gets cooler every year.
There's a reason why she's the queen, and just add that to the list.
Exactly.
So it's tough. It really is. And then, you know, every year we get these anonymous ballots that come out, and, you know, people comment on it and be like, oh yeah, I just lied and said I watched them all this year. And it's like, great. So nothing is changing.
Exactly. Yeah. I mean, I guess that's an issue that we'll never really fully get rid of. Cause I mean, it's like clicking, I agree to the terms and conditions. It's like, did we read the 14 pages? No, we're just sort of agreeing to it, and we'll we'll skim through, you know, first and last page. That's probably how a lot of people are doing it. But yeah, it was okay. Overall, still good. I feel like maybe the surprise, but not upset, depending on how you feel, is Marty Supreme winning nothing. That's pretty wild. I thought it was a pretty good movie, if it wasn't the best in a lot of ways.
Yeah, it was one that I enjoyed quite a bit, and like it sort of seemed going into last night, into the Oscars, we're recording this the day after the Oscars, going into the Oscars, the only category it seemed to be competitive in was Best Actor.
Yeah,
And
that's
that was
true.
the only one who was going to win. Everywhere else, it was third on the pecking order behind One Battle and Sinners, or if it was something else. It's sort of the byproduct of, a friend of the show, Bill Anthony, who, comments this all the time, where he's like, oh, and Oscar voters are watching less and less movies every year. And that's how we're getting things like the top movie getting 16 nominations, the second best movie getting 13 nominations, the third one getting 11 nominations, nominations, and down the line like that. Whereas in the past, you'd have one film that gets around 10, and then everyone else is, 5 or less. And so there'd be a much more wider range of options to choose from. And here, if you watch the 10 Best Picture nominees, you basically can knock out almost every single category because those 10 movies were the nominees for everything.
Yes, that's true. It's like a streamlined approach.
Yeah, so it's definitely tough for a film like Marty Supreme. And I would say films like Sentimental Value as well. It only won one award, and that was for Best International Film. And I almost thought that The Secret Agent was going to come in and steal it.
Yeah.
And The Secret Agent also went home empty-handed. So you've got like these bigger films that just went home with nothing because all the categories they were in were up against One Battle and Sinners.
Totally. And those were two sort of big waves that were, it doesn't make The Secret Agent a bad movie, and it doesn't, Marty Supreme a bad movie. It's just those were like two juggernauts that are hard to compete with, I think.
Yeah.
Like momentum itself is just a big thing, not even speaking about the actual qualities of each movie, just the PR momentum. Like people will be studying what happened with Chalamet. People in media will be studying what happened with Chalamet for this past year. You know what I mean? And how he went with this. I saw a lot of funny comments about like, whatever you want to say about Sean Penn, he has a pretty checkered past, but it's hilarious that he won and he didn't even show up, whereas Chalamet like did this all out PR campaign and lost. But yeah.
And there's been sort of like a bit of a history with performers that get that reputation. I'm thinking specifically to people like Jennifer Lawrence, to Bradley Cooper, Anne Hathaway to an extent, things like that, where the way they went about campaigning or doing things rubbed people the wrong way.
Yeah.
And all three of them took a step back from the sort of spotlight, whether that was, doing less films or doing less press surrounding the films. Anne Hathaway, I feel like she was the one that was just like, all right, I'm not doing press anymore.
Yeah.
I'm just going to act in the movies and do that. Jennifer Lawrence specifically took some time off.
Yeah.
I know that was also because she wanted to start a family, so she did that. She didn't do anything for like 3 years.
Yeah.
Bradley Cooper, I feel like he's like, you know what, I'm going to scale back my projects. I'm not going to do as much press. He's kind of in the midst of that, and I feel like he's sort of coming out of that bubble a little bit.
Yes. Tiptoeing.
Yes. And I feel like if Chalamet wants to preserve his reputation, he might need to have a look at how they handled their bad PR.
Yeah.
And sort of rebound from that. Because, he's got Dune coming up. If he stays quiet until Dune, I think a lot of people will forget most of this. Yeah.
Definitely. And also, there are far worse scandals in the world. He put his
100%.
foot in his mouth, and it's even more complicated than people are making it seem, right? Because didn't his mom, like, wasn't she a ballerina or something? So it's like, I feel like there's more to it than him just saying there's zero merit to it or that it's a dead. He probably has a lot of respect for it. He just looks at it differently. Anyway, I'm not here to defend him, but my point is just, it's not the biggest deal in the world. Worse things have happened at the Oscars that everybody has forgotten by the next year.
100%.
But yes, I agree with you. Although I think Chalamet's career isn't really in jeopardy. Like, I think he's basically young DiCaprio, and short of something that really, really, really goes wrong, as long as he keeps making solid to great movies, he's going to have a long career.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, but all it will take is, 2 movies in a row where people are like, I'm kind of tired of this guy. I don't really want to go out and see him.
Yeah, maybe you're right.
Get into a lull.
Maybe you're right, especially because, like, I really can't think of 2 in a row DiCaprio had that are bad.
Oh, he never did.
He
No.
never did. So it's tough to get that record.
His lull was the beach.
Yeah,
That
yeah,
was it.
exactly. Which it like looking back is like for another actor's career, it would be like a 6 or 7 out of 10.
Yeah.
Yeah, yeah,
Yeah.
totally. That's funny.
Yeah, I never really cared too much about what Chalamet said because he says dumb shit all the time.
Exactly.
So it's just like, I don't care. There, like you said, there are far more pressing
Yes.
things in the world to care about than what a dumb actor says.
Exactly. I saw there was a quote from Spielberg that was like, were we ever looking to Chalamet for like sage advice? Which I
Yeah.
think like was meant to be a bit of a dig, but also is a fair point. Like, don't look to actors for your, uh, you know, guidance and how to in etiquette, social etiquette, and what you speak about. You know what I mean? They're actors. That look to
Yeah.
them for advice on how to act and stop at that. You know?
Exactly. Yeah. All right, I want to kind of go through some of the highlights for me of the show. The introduction with Conan being dressed as Aunt Gladys,
Yeah.
fantastic. I thought that was great. You know, him inserting himself into the montage bits of the different Best Picture nominees was terrific. Ending with what I believe was a stunt double, obviously a body double, running into the stage with all the kids behind him.
That was really
Just
cool.
perfect.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And it's good music, good I was impressed, like, not just with the idea, because Conan's done the insert himself in nominee. You know, a lot of people do that.
That's a very popular host
Yes,
stick. Yeah,
yes.
for sure.
And it always almost goes well because it's funny and
Yep.
people are familiar with it. But this worked particularly well. Like, I was surprised at how well it was shot, actually. And even the double running in, like, I was kind of thinking, oh, they're going to play a bit of, 20 seconds of music before Conan comes out, but then instead using a double, I just thought it was okay. They're sort of one step ahead of even what the expectation was. So Conan could just come right out with this like grin on his face. It was good. Yeah, it was good. I was impressed with it.
And then we get the joke about how the Oscars are soon going to be broadcast on YouTube, and so we get Jane Lynch YouTube ads
Yeah, that
for
was good.
tactical flashlights. Terrific.
Yes.
I love Jane Lynch, so anytime she pops up is always a win in my books.
Yes. And even he was like, oh, Jane Lynch, you're a champ, or something like that.
Yeah. And then I gotta say, for the most part, a lot of the presenters' bits were pretty bad.
Yeah, they were bad.
I think a low was the Bill and Lewis Pullman stuff.
Oh, that was really tough to watch. Yes, I thought the same thing. It was like, oh man, that one where he was like, the second version or the second isn't necessarily better, but I'm gonna try. And clearly, like, maybe if both of them were a little bit more famous, that would have got a woo or applause for the younger Pullman. But neither of them are famous enough, at least the dad not enough anymore and the son not yet, that it was
the joke was too wordy.
Exactly, it was like, too wordy.
They were trying to make a Nepo baby joke but didn't want to use those words.
Yes. No, you're right. And then I also thought, despite the fact that they're good actors and funny people, Chris Evans and Robert Downey Jr., oh my goodness, that was bad.
Yeah, that was tough. Like, I think the bit sort of worked for the second half. The punchline landed, but the setup didn't work.
Yes, I agree with you completely. I mean, the first half was rough. And not to mention, there were just some weird things where you could tell, even sitting at home, like, this is not going quite according to plan. Timing things, camera things. And then I didn't look yet, so maybe it has made the news or Reddit or whatever, but all the extra wooing for certain movies.
That was for the documentary shorts. Every time the documentary shorts got mentioned, something was going on.
So I want to know if that was just we're extra proud and the few nominees, their section is relatively small probably compared to other sections, so we're going to go extra loud and we've all talked to each other and this is pride for short documentaries, or was it something else?
I don't know. And for me, the issue, it wasn't the volume, it was the length.
Yes,
where
I agree with you.
They kept going to the point where every time, because it happened both with Conan and then when Jimmy Kimmel came out as well, that they would try to talk and the cheering was still going and they had to stop and pause and be like, okay, guys.
Yeah, it was funny seeing them both be like, actually confused instead of feigning confusion the way they have to during bits.
Yeah.
Yeah, it was interesting.
And I don't know what was going on, but like, and then Kimmel making the dig of like, hey guys, just so you know, if you keep doing this, your tickets are going to get revoked next year.
Yeah.
That wasn't a joke.
No,
That was a serious
for
moment.
sure. But that was serious while also being a joke, and I thought it was pretty
Yes.
funny actually to say
Yeah,
in the
100%.
moment.
Yeah.
Yeah, yeah. It's like, remember who you are, short documentary.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. I will say, we're talking about bits that didn't work. The one bit that worked for me fantastically well was the bridesmaids
Yes,
reunion.
completely agree. Oh man, talk about goodwill that they could do almost anything and people would love them. But the
Yeah,
bit worked.
like it doesn't hurt that they are probably were probably the five most comedically gifted people on the stage the whole night,
Yeah, you're probably right.
and they clearly had a rehearsed bit.
Mhm.
They knew what they were doing. Their props made sense.
They're comedic
Like,
actors. That's also something
yeah,
we forget. Like, okay, there are stars coming out, but many of them aren't actually comedians or comedic
yes,
actors, right? These
yeah,
guys, these people, women in this case, can do it sort of just almost like muscle memory in a weird way, you know?
hmm
Yeah.
and especially since like. With the exception of Rose Byrne, they all come from like that sketch comedy stand up sort of background thing. Like
Yes.
that's Melissa McCarthy's background. Kristen Wiig was on
Yeah.
SNL. I'm forgetting what the
Well,
redhead's name
yeah,
is.
Paul Thomas Anderson's wife, Maya
Oh yeah, Maya
Rudolph, she
Rudolph
also
from
started. Yeah,
SNL.
yeah. Uh,
And then I can't remember
fuck, who?
the.
Erin from The Office. I forget her name, but Erin from
Yeah,
The
she
Office.
started on College Humor.
Yes, College Humor, and I think she was in Groundlings too, which is sketch. So
Yeah,
yeah,
yeah.
exactly. All of them have sketch backgrounds.
So they all have that. I'm not totally sure what Rose Byrne's background is. I think she
I think it might
always
have
was just
been.
sort of like,
I think it might have been comedy back in Australia or like dramedy, and then
yes,
yeah, exactly,
yeah.
more drama now.
And so having that bit about reading the feedback box, notes, and it's all Stellan Skarsgård basically
Yeah, that was
insulting them, and
pretty
the fact that
funny.
he went along with the bit too,
He
fantastic.
seems like a pretty good sport about that stuff.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, I agree. So that was probably the highlight for me in terms of like segments, bits.
Yeah, I agree with you. A highlight in terms of funny, I thought actually a sad highlight, but it was a highlight, was all of the people coming out to talk about Rob Reiner. Or it was Billy
hmm
Crystal, but then, many aspects of his cast and everything.
Yeah,
That was pretty lovely, leading into In Memoriam.
yeah, that was that's always a very powerful bit of the Oscars. They usually bring out someone to sing a song, a very sad ballad sort of thing,
Yeah.
and I think the way they changed it up this year worked excellent.
Yes, I agree.
Not that some people are more important than others, and especially the more front-facing people of the industry
Mhm.
usually get bigger cheers and things like that. That does not mean that they're more important or more
Or more
deserving, but
talented
there's
or
also
yeah.
yeah, there's also a degree to you know. We all know who Rob Reiner is. We all know who Robert Redford was. We all know who Catherine O'Hara
Yeah.
was. And so, like, having those three people basically have someone come out to talk about them
Yeah.
made it extra emotional.
Definitely, and I think, like, those are three examples too where they weren't just really good at their jobs. They stepped outside of their jobs as actors or directors or whatever and helped grow the industry itself, especially Hollywood. Like Sundance with Robert Redford,
hmm
Rob Reiner producing all of these different movies and giving careers to a lot of different people, and then obviously the work about uh, equal rights and things like that that he did, on top of the fact that, like, the murders was like a Hollywood thing. It happened in Hollywood. It was right after a Hollywood party. It's two Hollywood people. Like, it sort of does make sense. If Rob Reiner had just died of cancer over the course of like 5 years, I'm sure he would have
hmm
got some sort of award speech, but it wouldn't have been quite like this. Um, Whereas I feel like this was almost like Hollywood grieving for a part of itself as well as Reiner,
Yeah.
you know?
Yeah. No, I agree with that. And it does sort of set itself separately.
Yeah.
And like with Catherine O'Hara too, it was
Yeah.
so sudden. No one knew she was
No,
sick.
for sure.
Which is just an absolute tragedy.
Hmm. Hmm.
I'll say I was working on set the morning it was announced, and someone that had worked with her was on set, and just like how emotional she was throughout that day
Yeah.
was very tough for me, and like made it like extra emotional for me.
No, I believe it. I believe it. I mean, like you're saying, you were to be on a set in Canada where she touched so many lives here, let alone like obviously made a huge impression in the US too, even just in Home Alone, let alone everything else. But um, yeah, in Canada, I feel like, you know, there was almost that Gord Downey aspect to her where she
Yeah.
feels like ours in a way,
Yep.
you know? Yeah, so that makes sense. That's touching though. That's a testament
Yeah.
to how loved she was.
Um, Sort of doing a bit of a
Yeah.
turn. I love the musical performances. I'm obviously very sour that they didn't do all five. That irks me that they're kind of playing favorites where we knew that Golden and I Lied to You were the two front runners to win the award.
Yeah.
And so it's sour grapes on my behalf of like, yeah, well, you shouldn't pick favorites. That said, they clearly picked the two that would be the most theatrical and bring in the most eyeballs and have the most production value and things like that. And I gotta say, they both knocked it out of the park. Both I Lied to You and Golden were terrific
I
performances.
agree. I mean, don't get me wrong, love me some emotional dour Nick Cave Train Dreams
Oh
stuff,
yeah,
but I get definitely why they chose Golden and sorry, I forget the name, but the Sinner's song.
I Lied to
Yeah,
You.
I lied
Yeah,
to you. I get why they chose those for sure.
yeah,
And we can hem and haw about the like I'm using heavy air quotes here, more sort of artistic or not even more artistic at all, but like more less poppy, less mainstream songs, not or whatever choices not being showcased. But the Oscars need them eyeballs badly.
hmm
So if they want to survive, they got to do more stuff like this. And it's too bad, but also it's pretty understandable, and it makes it easier for the pill to go down.
yeah. Did you have a preference between the two performances?
Uh, I like the Sinner's song more, but I thought Golden was better. Like it was
Mm.
just a more fun performance. I thought all the lights were fun. I saw a funny meme that was like, imagining DiCaprio having to participate in this is pretty funny. It was like, yeah, it is. It is actually imagining him with a little light bulb. Uh, so yeah, yeah, both of them were good though, and I thought it helped that both were. I mean, especially Golden is sort of like an uplifting song, and
hmm
it helped with the energy of the whole night.
Yeah.
Whereas maybe like they could have done the Train Dream song like during In Memoriam, something like that.
Yeah.
But yeah, yeah,
Yeah, it's true. No, I really like the I Lied to You performance. They basically recreated the whole scene
right,
from the movie.
right.
And having all these different dancers and performers and different stylistic musicians coming out, I thought was pretty great. I'm a big Alabama Shakes fan,
Same.
so seeing Brittany Howard come out was pretty awesome. She's fantastic. Miles Caton hitting those ridiculous high notes and holding on to
Yeah,
them as he's playing the guitar was fantastic and showed what a star he is. Yeah, like honestly, that was like a flawless performance. They just nailed every aspect of that. I love that they had Buddy Guy on stage. I wish they maybe utilized him a little bit more. Maybe either him playing guitar or like he started out the segment or something, but he was just kind of like awkwardly standing off to the side for one moment. I'm like, hey, it's Buddy
it's
Guy.
Buddy. Yeah, there and then there he goes. Yeah, it could
Yeah.
be his age too. I don't know what he is. He's probably in his 80s, right? But
What they should have done is like stuck him on one of the bar stools and
totally.
have him sitting in the background the whole
Totally.
time.
Okay, yeah, I just
That's what
looked
they
it up.
should
He
have
was
done.
friggin' 89. So I get
Yeah.
it. But yeah, I agree. They probably should have sat him down somewhere and then stuck him with an acoustic guitar or something.
100%. That yeah, yeah. But you're right. Golden was terrific. Handing out all the K-pop flashlights
Yeah,
was a great moment. It looked
it
great on
did. It
camera,
did.
with all three tiers of the balconies all lit up. They clearly only had a camera on Teyana Taylor, the only person in like the front rows that was excited about having a flashlight, clearly.
I know. She made for good camera reactions, though. I get why they kept going to her. She was really happy, kind of seemingly for everybody.
She did. I feel like between her and Ryan Coogler,
Yeah.
like they were excited for everyone who won, regardless what movie
They're
it was.
just like classy people who are just happy to be there and respectful and everything. It was cool. Yeah, I agree. That was really funny. This is skipping ahead, but when Paul Thomas Anderson did win, this
And she's like
she's
choking
like
him.
choking him on the whip, and he almost trips like over her dress or something. That was great. That was great.
Yeah, that was a really funny moment. Yeah, I commented about Ryan Coogler. I was like, he's just such a movie nerd, and I don't mean that in a pejorative way at all. I mean that in the highest compliment.
Totally.
He is you, he is me, he is all of us that listen to movie podcasts and care about this shit.
Mhm.
He is a movie nerd, and I love it.
Absolutely. And that's what, many auteur directors reveal themselves to be that. I feel like sometimes the deeper you hear them chat,
Yeah.
and it's always sort of nice to see.
Mm-hmm. A few other notes I want to shout out here. I love that Benicio del Toro's Oscar clip was the few small beers moment.
Yeah.
Great. The Academy understood the assignment and gave that. So fantastic. Matt Berry, he was the announcer. Couldn't hear him.
Yeah.
I was so annoyed.
Yeah, I couldn't really.
Why do you hire Matt Berry if you don't mix him properly?
It's so true. And then I thought the bit that he had with Conan was just okay, which was unfortunate as well.
Yeah.
Yeah, I agree with you. Is that voice that like in a smaller way, star power? Like they could have cut to him a few more times, and just made him a slightly bigger part of it, perhaps.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I don't know what the solution is other than, turning up his volume. I don't know if that was just like a TV broadcast issue. If he was, I don't know if you can hear the announcer in the auditorium or
I
not.
feel like it's probably
I
a
don't
lot.
know.
Oh, you don't think so? I thought it would be clearer in the auditorium.
Well, I don't know if they even hear it or not. Like, is that something just for the broadcast or is that for everyone as well?
Okay, true. I don't know. I guess I always imagined it would be in the auditorium, but maybe not. There's probably a different voice being like, okay, back to your seats, folks, blah, blah, blah. So I don't know. Yeah.
I don't know either. All I know is like the few times I would hear him say a name in his ridiculous Matt Berry voice, all of us at my house, it was me, my wife, and my friend Darren Zakis. We would just repeat it the way he said it because that's the thing you do when you hear Matt Berry say something ridiculous.
Absolutely. And also just speaking of sort of the more of the production side of the Oscars, the stage background was more noticeable than it has been in years and better for it. I thought it looked awesome. I thought it looked really, really, really cool. Those big gold iron gates. And there was like a sort of, am I imagining that there was either kind of symbols of flowers or there were actual big flowers in the back, or not flowers, but like plants? I could be wrong. But in general, I just felt like it had kind of like a really nice like hotel lobby vibe, and I actually mean that positively.
I get what you're saying. Yeah, you walk into the hotel and you're like, ooh, this is a nice hotel we're staying at.
Exactly. Yeah, there's like maybe there's a waterfall behind the gate or something. And also I thought it was funny, just speaking of how it all looked, Conan's joke to Ted Sarandos about like, this is a theater, this is what people want. It was pretty funny.
Yeah. Why is everyone in here enjoying themselves?
I want to monetize it. Yeah. That was pretty funny.
Yeah. I mean, the whole Ted Sarandos thing, like every award show, they make the same jokes at him and he always laughs his ass off. Like he's clearly self-aware.
Yes. And honestly, I've heard other interviews with him, and I as just a guy, he comes across as totally fine. I'm sure he got into the industry at the beginning because he loves movies and because he loves TV and blah blah blah, right? But
well, were you a fan of the show The Studio, speaking of Catherine O'Hara?
Yes. Oh yeah.
And like he has a whole episode that's basically the punchline is that he writes in the contracts of all of his performers that they must thank him at award shows.
Right, yes.
And so, like, there's a scene where Seth Rogen runs into him in the bathroom. He's like, "How do you get everyone to thank you?" He's like, "Oh, I write in the contracts. They
Right,
have
I
to thank
remember that.
me."
Also, that was a low-key good Seth Rogen impression.
Thank you, thank you. So yeah, like he's clearly self-aware. So
There's
I want to hate the guy more than I do.
exactly. That's like he's chosen the best path to deal with it, which is just laughing at himself and
Yeah,
whatever.
yeah. I'm a billionaire.
Literally, exactly. It's that gif of Woody Harrelson wiping his tears with money.
Oh yeah, with money. Yeah. All right, what other notes do I have here that I want to highlight? Okay, we haven't talked about it yet. A tie happened.
Oh, yeah.
This is one of the craziest things for me. I thought it was really funny. And so there's 3 of us at my house watching the Oscars, and so my wife and I both ended up picking one of the winners correctly, and then my buddy Darren didn't pick it. I'm like, you had a 40% chance of getting it right. How did you mess that up?
That's hilarious. Yeah, true. That is crazy. When it was funny to. It happened to. Who was the person who was announcing where they were like, "This is not a bit."
Ooh, wow. I forget because it was someone funny.
Exactly.
So
So they had to specify
you had to
that.
preemptively.
Yeah. I don't remember,
say-
but yeah, anyway, that was amusing. They're like, it's gonna be them coming up, then they'll go, and then I'll announce the second one.
Yeah, I'm pulling this up. Oh, yeah, it was Kumail Nanjiani.
Which had a really funny lean-in joke, which was like the body of a superhero and the voice of a superhero like collector or something like that. Yeah.
And he was like, I didn't know that joke was coming.
Yeah.
He's also someone that's very self-aware, which I appreciate.
Definitely. He would also be a good host or good for that stuff.
He would be actually. Yeah. Yeah, so that was pretty crazy to me. It was best live action short. The last time we got a tie was back in 2012 for best sound editing, I believe it was. It was Skyfall and Zero Dark 30, but it's the 7th tie overall. Yeah. They don't happen very often. So I don't have the years, I just have the ceremony years. So 2012 was the 85th year. The 67th year was also best live action short. The 59th year was documentary. The 41st year was best actress for Katharine Hepburn and Barbara Streisand. The 22nd year was the documentary short, and the 5th year was for best actor, tied between Frederick March and Wallace Beery. So 7 times overall. Pretty crazy. I'm guessing all of the presenters are briefed beforehand of like, hey, if a tie happens, this is what you must do. Yeah. That way there's no confusion, no misunderstandings. We don't want a La La Land Moonlight situation where there's confusion going on. You must be very, very explicit about what happens.
Yeah, I'm sure you're right. But I feel like that's probably something that people just sort of half wave off, like, yeah, okay, I gotcha.
Yeah, sure. Yeah,
and then Kumail was like, oh, okay.
Oh my God, the most important thing is happening right now. I cannot screw this up.
Exactly. Also, I just passed, I am also doing some scrolling for movie news, and I passed a headline that said, Sean Penn visited Ukraine instead of Oscars. So I knew it would be some Sean Penn shit like that,
Yeah. Kieran Culkin had a great bit. He presented the best supporting actor. He's like, Sean Penn couldn't be here or didn't want to.
Yeah, that was really good, which is exactly
where I'm
how
like,
I thought,
tell us how you really feel there, Kieran.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. I mean, fair enough. Some people take it too seriously. Some people perhaps not enough in a way.
Yeah, and like he's won 2 Oscars before. This is his 3rd Oscar.
Yeah. I don't know. Did you really, of all
I'm
people,
sure he appreciates
Sean Penn,
it.
I wasn't that surprised to see him not there, even if he was nominated.
Yeah. And like he's pretty clearly distanced himself from the Hollywood machine in the last decade plus.
Exactly.
So like none of it is surprising. And honestly, I don't hold him against him. Like if you hold the opinion that, the Oscars are just some self-serving back padding for a group of, a couple hundred people, rich people, I don't begrudge you. That's fine if you want to think that.
No, I think it's
especially
a fair way to look at it from many angles.
Yeah. And especially, if you know how the sausage is made because you are part of the sausage and you don't want to be a part of it, that's fine. Like,
True.
I don't care.
True. Maybe he arguably in some ways has a better understanding of it than the rest of us. So he's like, no, thanks. I did that in the 80s and 90s. Yeah, I'm good. Yeah.
where I know, like, in the past, if a stunt like that was pulled, people would be like, oh, he doesn't deserve to win it. You
True.
know, only people who want to win should get it. I don't think anyone's going to say anything like that this
No.
year. Like, I would just be like, cool, good for him, whatever,
Literally.
moving on to the
I don't
next
even
thing.
know if it'll make, you know, a headline, let alone like, you know, big ones or anything like that. I feel like it could have been as simple as like, he thought about coming. They told him he couldn't smoke inside, and he was like, "All right, I'll go to Ukraine." You know?
Yeah, they let me smoke inside
Exactly.
there.
Yeah. He's always smoking. It's absurd. Even on late night shows and stuff, he'll be smoking. It's seems like they just like allow that for him. But
I mean, it's clearly it has to be a bit of a bit now between him and Dave Chappelle.
yes, yeah, Dave Chappelle. Yeah, exactly. Both of them should just have a cigarette together, and it would last 8 hours.
Yeah, although I think that might be the most insufferable conversation I've
Yes,
ever overhear in my life.
Definitely, I agree.
All right. Is there anything else left in my notes? Huge shout out to Javier Bardem for shouting out Free Palestine at the beginning.
He's a real one.
He's the only one who very explicitly said that. You know, a lot of the speeches are always political, and usually you don't have to really read between the lines. You can understand who the speeches are talking about. But like, he was the only one that was very explicit with his political stance, I find.
Yes, like, yeah. Whereas sort of impossible to not understand what he was talking about. Whereas there's borderline plausible deniability for other people, just in case they happen to get in hot shit, you know?
Yeah.
And also, I'm pretty sure he wore, what does his pin say? Like, no guerra, which is no war, obviously, in Spanish.
Yeah, he said, that was the first thing he said. He said, no wars, or end all wars, and free Palestine.
Yeah. And so, I don't know what else to say other than good for him. He's been outspoken kind of since it started. So, yeah. I don't know. Other big news, Pedro Pascal shaved his mustache. You know, what are the rest of us supposed to do? Yeah.
Didn't like it.
Weird.
Nope. Yep.
Very weird. I thought it was funny. I saw a comment that was like he gave it to Leonardo DiCaprio because DiCaprio just had
I gotta say,
dapper
DiCaprio with a mustache.
Dapper
looks
great. He looks like
yep.
a 1950s star to me.
100% he does.
Yeah. No, it suited both of them. But weird to see Pascal. He like de-aged like 5 years, you know, or 10 years. It was weird.
He was also looking a little skinny, I found. I don't know if it was the shirt he was wearing that had like a very big collar and his neck very small.
To be honest, that is one of the first things that I said to my sister. I was like, it looks like he's lost weight when he really didn't need to. But
yeah,
who knows? Who knows? Could be for a role. Could just be the way it looked. Maybe we're just not used to him without facial hair.
Maybe.
Whatever.
He needs to bring the stubble back because that look suits him.
It does. Yeah, it does. Whatever.
And I also appreciate for all of us patchy bearded folks out there that he makes it work.
He does. Yeah, that's a good point. He's not coming in with like the Robert Redford turning around gif with the full brown beard. He's got, it makes the patchiness work. I agree with you.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
I think out of all the acceptance speeches, Jesse Buckley probably had the best, in my opinion. Like, it was the most heartfelt and sweetest.
Oh, and you got to love the Irish accent.
Oh, yeah. It's great. Yeah. Did you have any other favorite acceptance speeches or ones that sort of stood out for you, either positively or negatively?
Frankly, no. Not really. Like, there were a few. I forget her name, and that's a part of the problem, I suppose. But the woman who won for best cinematographer.
Autumn Durald Arkapaw.
Yeah, she gave a great speech, sort of inviting all the women in the room to stand up. And I also thought, you know, I'm not even like Mr. SJW out there all the time, but I thought it was pretty appalling a woman had never won that. Like it's been like nearly 100 years or whatever, and there you know have been many great movies shot by women. So I was pretty surprised.
It's a very frustrating aspect of the industry. There are so few female cinematographers, and this is a trend that's only sort of been reversing in the last 15 to 20 years. And even then, it's been very, very slow.
Right.
There's only a handful of like the type of the problem is with the Oscars is they only nominate certain types of movies.
Of course.
And so unless you're working within that sort of framework of the big budget auteur, you're not going to be up for an Oscar. If you're doing genre films, if you're doing super low budget films, if you're doing big budget, Hollywood slop, none of that stuff is going to be
Yeah, that's
nominated
true.
in these categories. So it's just such a small percentage of a small percentage of a small percentage sort of thing. But I will share an interesting anecdote that so Autumn thanked Rachel Morrison, who was the first woman to be nominated for Best Cinematography 10 years ago for the movie Mudbound. And interestingly enough, is Rachel Morrison shot Ryan Coogler's first few films, starting with Fruitvale Station, Creed. She did the first Black Panther movie,
wow.
and then she was unavailable to do the second Black Panther movie. So she recommended Autumn to do it.
Wow.
And so now Autumn has done Wakanda Forever and now Sinners
Wow.
with Ryan Coogler, and she wins the Oscar basically because of the woman who got the first nomination.
Wow. That's a pretty
Yeah.
great story, but also illustrative of how small the group of women is that are working
Yeah.
cinematographers. Like, it kind of proves your point.
Yeah, 100%.
Also, I just briefly looked up like other famous female cinematographers. Obviously, I didn't know many of their names, but I didn't realize it was a woman who shot Eternal Sunshine of the Spotless Mind. And I feel like that cinematography is everyone remembers that if they've seen the movie.
Yep.
And so I'd have to go look at who she was nominated against. But I'm sure if we look into it, there will be some upsets or some like, oh, they could have won instead of the person who did one or whatever, Even
Yeah.
like, I don't really hear people talk about The Neon Demon very much, but I remember seeing that movie in theaters and going, I mean, whatever you want to say about the story, how slight it is and how thin, the cinematography in that movie is amazing. Like, she should have just done music videos or something. But yeah, anyway.
So yeah, it's it's obviously a bit of a frustrating state of affairs, but I guess the moral of the story is here. Shout out to Ryan Coogler for recognizing talent regardless of where it comes from, and the fact that all of his movies have been shot by women is huge. I mentioned Kirsten Dunst earlier, and I think back to her. There's that famous actors roundtable where I don't remember who else is, and they're all talking about like, oh yeah, I want to work with more female directors, but it's just so tough, it's just so difficult. And Kirsten Dunst is like, no, it's not.
Yeah, exactly.
Almost all the movies almost the films I do are directed by women. It's not that hard at all.
No, I agree. I feel like there's so much. It's actually so. A lot of the people who are nominated. Look, I get why if some of the people in that roundtable were saying it, and they're like in the first movie of their career or second movie or third movie, and they're just breaking out and getting their footing. But if you have as much footing as Kirsten Dunst, and many people do in the industry, and they're the ones choosing not to sort of put their money where their mouth is or where their career is, those are the people I don't really respect. They have the freedom to do it without losing their careers theoretically, and they're the ones that should be doing it, especially if they're talking about it and not actually doing anything.
Because signing on to a movie instantly brings more funding. So someone like Kirsten Dunst, who is taking chances on new and emerging filmmakers, regardless of who they are, instantly gives them, oh, you got Kirsten Dunst? Here, we'll give you $10 million.
Exactly. She's using her presence to get films made that perhaps wouldn't. Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. All right. I think that's just about all of the notes I have. Just kind of glancing at my notes app again. I will say I was loving the closing sketch for the Oscars of Conan being named host for life, but it was actually a recreation of the One Battle After Another. And then they ended it with the worst way possible by replacing his name with Mr. Beast. And I was like, what the hell? I was expecting it to be Jimmy Kimmel or something like that, where some sort of a relatable punchline where I'm like, it's the guy who used to host it. He's coming back. It's a funny joke. But Mr. Beast, that's not a joke.
I feel like
this is awful.
I had a few people text me that, and I was surprised. I don't know much about Mr. Beast. Like, I know that he's a big on YouTube or maybe now Prime, and he has some sort of reality game show or something that he makes people, like, he gives people money and stuff, but it's sort of demeaning and that kind of thing, which, like, I understand. but I took that as a joke that at the end at the Oscars, I took that joke to mean this is how desperate the Oscars are for viewership. They'd have
Hmm.
Mr. Beast. And you can find that joke not funny or funny, but
Yeah.
it's clearly meant to be a joke. So what is the outcry about?
For me, I understand the joke that they were trying to make of what the punchline was supposed to
Okay.
be. The issue for someone like me is, one, I find the way he gives out money to be really
Oh,
sort of
it
scummy
is.
and
It is.
gross.
It is. From what
And the
I've seen.
fact that he's got numerous allegations of promoting unsafe work
Hmm.
environments, things like both harassment and sexual harassment on his sets, not by him, but by
Right. But
other
he's still
people
allowing
that
it in
work
a
under
way.
him.
Yeah.
Yeah. And the fact that it hasn't been one-offs, it's been multiple occasions of unsafe work environment
Mm-hmm.
allegations, are just like, okay, so why are we giving this guy attention or
Even
more
in the form
publicity
of a
or things like
punchline.
that?
I
Yeah.
see.
Especially since he wasn't even there. Like, it would be one, like,
Hmm.
it's two separate punchlines. The punchline being they just replaced the nameplate from Conan to Mr. Beast. That's the punchline they went
Yeah.
with. Punchline B is they switched the nameplate and you see Mr. Beast there. He wasn't even there. So, like, was he aware this joke was
Mm.
happening? Like,
I feel like it
this
would have
isn't like
reflected
we're trying
worse
to.
on the Oscars if Mr. Beast was there. So I'm glad they didn't do that.
It just sort of felt like, oh, we're just trying to think of any name we can think of. Oh, great, we'll go with Mr. Beast. Whereas if he was there, it would feel like, oh, we're pandering to the kids. I don't know, however it is you want to call it, but like,
That's what it would have felt like. But you felt like that still
yeah,
would have been a better decision, or you're at least happy he wasn't there.
I I don't know,
Okay,
neither.
yeah.
I just don't like the joke at all because, like, the way I look at it is that the punchline happens and then everyone that's over the age of, I don't know, 35, 40 goes, who's Mr. Beast?
Yeah, I think you're right. I think it's a joke about trying to reach more people in a younger age demographic, but it's also like being self-aware only gets you so far. You can
Yeah.
be self-aware and make a joke about yourself and still be guilty of the thing you're laughing at by making a joke. Like
Yeah.
they didn't successfully uh, dodge the accusations that they're losing viewership from people by making a joke about it. It's just sort of like it basically failed as a joke for you and failed in that secondary way for you, I guess is your point.
Yeah, I think that's the perfect way of putting
Okay.
it
Yeah, I get
because
that.
they weren't self-aware enough to make the punchlines themselves.
Right, right. I see. I'm interested in who could have, like, I agree, Jimmy Kimmel or whatever. That would have been a fine punchline as well and made more sense. But I'm curious what would have been a better punchline. Like how deep could they have? Like, they could have put another Hamini. Maybe that's too political, but like another Irani leader. You know, uh,
Yeah. I feel like that's too
that's probably
much.
too much. Yeah. But
I don't
some,
know. Maybe
yeah, anyway, or like tie it to another movie where a character passes away or something, I guess. Yeah,
100%.
yeah.
Yeah,
I
yeah.
actually thought there would be more backlash about the fact, like, I know it's a nod to the end of One Battle After Another, but him dying in like a weird like gas chamber is pretty dark in itself. Um, I thought there would be more backlash to that, to be honest, than the Mr. Beast thing. But all I hear about is the Mr. Beast. So, what do I know?
I don't know. I think there probably wasn't backlash because, it's the movie that won
Yeah,
Best
I guess
Picture.
that's
So I
true.
imagine most people that watch the Oscars
Yeah.
have seen it.
Okay, that's
So they
true.
understand what the reference
That's true.
is.
Yeah, yeah,
Like if that was done at the MTV Awards,
yeah.
that's a joke that would have gone over the heads of most of the viewers. And people would be like, why are they making this joke about someone being
Yeah,
gassed? That's
you're
not
probably
funny.
right. Yeah, you're probably right.
Something like that. I don't know.
True.
Overall, I think it was a pretty entertaining show. I thought the first, third of the show, zipped by. Everything was going nicely. The presenters were pretty good. The speeches were solid. The sketches were funny, and then it kind of slowed down a lot. And then once you got into like the final awards, I think it was just sort of waiting
Yeah,
for the coronation of Paul Thomas
yeah. The
Anderson.
last third was glacial. pacing. It was
Yeah.
a tough one, I thought, even though I was happy for him for winning. I will say, just to jump in about like kind of the end or near the end, I find Adrian Brody largely insufferable, although a good actor. Uh, I thought his bit really worked about pulling out all those
Mm,
papers, like he was going to give a really long
yeah.
speech, and then he just put it away and just announced it. I thought
Yeah.
that was pretty solid. Like that was self awareness where it worked. You know?
Yeah. I I agree with you. I mostly find him insufferable. I didn't care that last year he gave a long speech. He won Best Actor. I don't care. This is your time. Use it. And
I
now,
agree with that too.
obviously, it comes at the expense of, unfortunately, other people being cut off. And this year they sort of they half did a really good job of, like, they started to play people off and be like, oh, they're not done. Never
Yeah,
mind. Let them go. And then the other half was like, no, we're cutting you off and there's nothing you can
yeah,
do
yeah,
about
yeah.
it. Which, felt really shitty, especially watching these people being like so disappointed. Where, like, I didn't get a chance to say thank you.
And it was
What's
it
going
was
on here?
rarely like, it would happen to the smaller categories. It wasn't a big
It always
right,
does.
and
Yeah.
I guess that's inevitable, but it's unfortunate because those people are
Yeah.
equally deserving.
So last year, I didn't care about Adrian Brody's speech being long. It was fine. I didn't think it was as terrible as everyone made it out to be. I thought that was
Yeah,
ridiculous. I think people just hate him. It would be the same thing if Chalamet won and gave a long speech. People would be hating on him too.
definitely.
They just don't like the person, regardless of what they had
I
done.
agree. Yeah.
Um, but you're right. I liked the bit. I thought it was funny. I think about 3/4 of the way through it, he realized that he overcommitted to it and didn't know what to do with all the
Yeah,
papers.
so he had to stuff
And I
them
could
back in his
see a
arm.
moment. Yeah, and there was like a moment of panic of like, shit, how do I get
Oh
out
my
of this?
god.
I actually need to say the lines.
Hilarious. I thought the exact same thing. Like right near the end, he was like, I have a lot of papers on me right now. Yeah, that's what it looked
Yeah,
like.
yeah.
Yeah.
When you commit too hard to the
Yes.
bit.
Yeah. Well, that's what actors do. He's an
Yeah,
actor.
yeah. But yeah, overall, I thought it was a pretty successful night. I enjoyed it. I liked the winners. I liked most of the bits. I think the stuff that didn't work was, largely inoffensively
Yeah.
bland and not in a I'm offended by my taste sort of thing like I have been in the past of some Oscar bits. So yeah, very solid night. I had a good time. What about you?
Me too. Overall, I feel like sometimes you walk away from the Oscars feeling like it didn't reach, wasn't a success, whatever that means, or it wasn't that entertaining, or there was something really like sour. I didn't feel that. I just thought this was pretty solid. Lots of happy celebrations and yells, and in general, it felt like a pretty positive vibe. People were happy to be there and like celebrating each other, not just themselves. Although it was funny when Paul
Hmm.
Thomas Anderson was like, "I gotta say, this feels pretty good," holding the statue or whatever, which got some laughs. Um,
Yeah.
yeah, no, I thought no complaints, which is rare. I felt for an Oscars, frankly.
Yeah, yeah. All the complaints that we had throughout this discussion, I feel were very minor
Yes.
quibbles, and like, you can't expect any live show to be perfect, and not everything is going to work for everyone. But for the most part, it was a fairly
Well,
successful.
and I actually probably would have felt kind of more met about it if there weren't a few live hiccups. Like
Mm.
that's part of the joy of this. I wouldn't there's no chance I would sit and watch 3 hours of something pre-recorded that we just then get to see. There is no chance. But
Yeah,
live, we get stuff like the slap, once in a while, or the Moonlight
yeah,
mix up. And it's just like that's why SNL is still like, worth watching in my opinion sometimes. It's live, it's legitimately live. That's nice.
yeah. Speaking of SNL, that's what I watched after the Oscars were done. I watched Saturday's
There you
episode
go. I thought
with
Saturday
Harry
Harry Styles
Styles.
was great. Yeah,
Yeah, yeah. All right. Well, Alex, I think this is a perfect place to
for sure.
wrap up. Thank you so much for coming on the show today. It is always a pleasure to have you on. So thank
Absolutely.
you.
Thank you for having me. It was great to talk. I'll never turn down talking about the Oscars or movies, so I appreciate it.
Well, where can people find more of your work?
It'll be through that shelf. I'm doing interviews as well as writing reviews, so you'll see my stuff up on there, and then occasionally other spots. But I've sort of pulled back a bit from social media. This is a very small explanation, but I was pursuing more music stuff, more public facing stuff. And I recently just kind of have decided to stop that and pursue other things, which, you know, I've been complaining about social media for the longest time and sort of having to be on it, air quotes, and in a very Kirsten Dunst fashion, I suppose, I'm putting my money where my mouth is and just being like, I no longer really need to be on it in any other way than I want to. And the only way I want to be on it is to receive and send memes. So that's basically what I'm doing now. So therefore, just look to that shelf instead of any social media handle for my stuff.
Fantastic. Well, you clearly are smarter than the rest of us, Alex.
I appreciate that. If you could wake me up with that every day, that would be nice.
Well, we'll be back in a few weeks with our top 10 films of the year. So that's a fun episode. So stay tuned for that. This has been a That Shelf podcast. Visit thatshelf.com for more great film discourse. Follow the show on Instagram, Threads, and Blue Sky at ContraZoomPod. How did your Oscar predictions go? Leave a comment on Spotify or send us an email. Thank you to Eric and Kevin Smale for the theme music and to Stephanie Pryor for the logo design. If you like to listen to podcasts on YouTube, we do post all episodes there as well. And if you really like the show, consider tipping us on coffee. Thanks for checking us out.